What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We got a lot to cover today about Palantir Technologies and the current state of the market and where it looks like it's headed in the future. Remember, this is the channel where you trade with your mind and not your emotions and learn to control the bull. All right, everybody. So before we go ahead and get into Palantir's earnings and future outlook, let's go ahead and talk about the market real quick. So it looks like the market sentiment has changed from bearish to bullish as of November 1st. Many investors before November 1st were investing very timidly or selling off stocks in a major way. But oh boy, do we have a nice turnaround coming our way, folks. Now, typically, when over 50% of people are bearish on the market, it's usually a pretty good sign that it's a great time to be buying stocks. Now, there is an interesting phenomenon going on, which I would say looks very bullish for us overall. Now, most people and investors will go on to CNBC Daily and look at the Dow and the NASDAQ. Now, while both of these indexes are important, an argument can be made that they are not the most important indexes in the stock market. For those of you who don't know, the Dow is weighted by how much each stock is priced at, which, in my opinion, is utterly useless. I mean, really, who cares if the Dow is up 500 points or down 1,000 points? That could just be a couple stocks in the index swaying the whole thing up or down in one direction. Now, the S&P 500 is typically the most looked at index for general market investors. The NASDAQ is the most looked at index for, let's say, sophisticated investors in the market. Now, the Russell 2000 is ultimately the index that can often help us predict the future in the market a lot of times. If the market has been going through a bearish or weak performance, typically the Russell is the first of the major indexes to get hit, and you'll see a drop in price significantly. Now, the interesting part is typically when the Russell goes down, the Dow, S&P 500, and Nasdaq will follow. So you might be asking, why is this all important? Well, like we said, the Russell is a good indicator of incoming weak performance for the market overall. However, the same can be said conversely. The Russell can be both a good indicator for market weakness as well as an indicator for market strength. So as you can see, the Russell is up and it looks like the other indexes are following, so this is proof of concept.
Woody, there's unemployed people everywhere.
All right, so jokes aside, guys, right now the unemployment rate went up from 3.4% to 3.9%. Now, I know this might sound a little confusing, but the unemployment rate going up actually helps the investor's sentiment in investing in different companies because basically what happened is that labor costs and with increased wages in a lot of jobs, it created too hot of an employment market. So things really needed to cool off. When the market is too hot, inflation goes up, and to lower inflation, you need to lower the demand for jobs. So the rate slightly going up for the amount of unemployed people is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, there's always two sides of a coin. So this is something we need to continue to monitor heavily for the next 6 to 12 months. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get into Palantir Technologies, their earnings information, and the future outlook of the company. Now, a lot of people doubted Palantir, and to all those bears and doubters, Palantir just gave one big finger to all of them, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't the pinky finger. Now, this stock has a large incoming catalyst that could happen in a few weeks or a couple of months. This catalyst will completely change the outlook of Palantir and where we're expecting the stock price to go. Now, the company reported their fourth consecutive quarter of profitability and had its highest earnings since it was founded 20 years ago. There's a strong demand for new artificial intelligence offerings, and now after four consecutive quarters, companies are typically able to join the S&P 500, which means that Palantir is now eligible to be in the S&P 500. This will be a game changer. Remember, everyone, the S&P 500 is the most heavily invested index in the world. So if anyone is going to be purchasing a stock, they're most likely going to be in the S&P 500, okay? So if you haven't bought shares yet already, don't think it's too late even though it's run up. You might want to wait for a little bit of a cool down because naturally that should happen. But long term, even at these prices at $19 a share currently, it is still absolutely a buy in my opinion. All right, so some of the facts of Palantir. So Palantir rally nearly triples the stock in 2023. So as you can see, a couple months ago, a lot of investors were talking complete trash about this stock, saying it's garbage, it's never going to turn a profit on earnings, it has no chance of making it. But Palantir completely flipped everybody on their heads. There was a lot of bears out there and they completely squashed the doubts of the doubters. So let's go ahead and get into more detailed facts of what's going on now with Palantir. All right, everybody, let's get into why I think Palantir has a very bullish case for it moving forward in the next 5 years. So there's a picture of Alex Karp, and he actually did say this in his conference call. And, he is a very confident guy, and a lot of these, CEOs are very cocky behind closed doors. But what I like about Alex Karp is he just tells it like he is. He really feels that Palantir is one of the best companies in the world. And, as a leader, you want to have that kind of confidence and belief in your company. And I think he had a feeling that he could turn things around. They had a couple earnings where they weren't turning a profit, but this quarter and the last few, they've shown that they can turn that around, okay? So many different analysts, about 15 of them a couple months ago, had said that this stock would completely fail, it would bankrupt, and, look at them now. So Alex Karp said in that picture he wants to humiliate all other companies. He also said in the call that he wants to completely dominate the market. He basically wants to leave them to be the go-to people to go. So anyone with existing AI software contracts, he wants to get rid of them and have them use their software. Now, Palantir was also ranked the number one vendor of all AI data science and machine learning. They have expanded partnerships across many different sectors, pretty much everything you can think of, from defense, public sectors. There's a lot of different grounds that they cover. You know, um, Palantir last quarter they announced a $1 billion stock buyback program. On top of landing that new Army AI contract worth up to 250 million, they just continue to expand different partnerships for their work, including different sectors like energy web services, defense contracting for the National Health Services, direct public sector utilities, you name it. Pretty much almost every industry you see, Palantir is expanding more and more and getting into more contracts with and involving AI recognition. At the same time, they've been managing to profit quarter after quarter. Now, if you go back to a few of my videos a little bit back, I broke down my argument for why I think Palantir is going to be, in the future could be a $500 stock. And I know that sounds absolutely wild at this point, but I mean, look at, NVIDIA, all the software it offered and the chips that it made. Okay, a lot of people were doubting that company. A lot of people were doubting Meta previously, okay? I think sometimes Wall Street's got it wrong, and I think this is one of the cases as well. Um, there's a lot of companies that got huge allocations this year from Wall Street simply for having the word AI mentioned in a single press release that they came out with. But the difference is with those companies, instead of just mentioning the word AI, Palantir is actually the leader in AI and is actually selling it to customers who are using it. And I know, shocker, most people on Wall Street, think all we need for them is to say the word, but perhaps, maybe just perhaps, the people actually creating the AI and selling this type of software are the ones that we should be investing in instead. Okay? Now, I personally think Palantir is one of the best to do it, do AI in the market. And I'm not saying that because I, understand the coding behind it, But I will say it because you can see how many companies are trying to adopt to the software and trying to continue to spend more and more money on AI. But what it all comes back to is they're spending now. They've seen that trying to do it themselves is too difficult. They're going back to CEO Alex Karp, okay? Alex Karp even said earlier, we earned the most significant profit in our company's 20-year history. Now, remember, folks, the deal with Palantir, it's long been known that their software itself has a really, really high profit margin potential, but they prefer to reinvest that profit margin potential instead into R&D in terms of onboarding more and more customers. And then in the long term, that could lead to insane profitability, okay? So the more that Palantir's building customer bases right now and investing in getting more clients and customers, the better this stock looks for the long term. It's like everything else in life. Sometimes when you start a business, you have to put a lot of your earnings into remarketing, rebranding, trying new things that work to just be able to get attention. But after you build that fan base and you got people coming back to you and knowing and loving your product, now you're looking at a reoccurring business model, okay, where um, every month, every week, according to your contract, year over year over year, you're going to be able to get money into your business. And now word of mouth has taken over and you no longer have to spend all that money on marketing and trying to get out there and be a door-to-door salesman. Now, if we look at Palantir putting the money into the marketing sector, they obviously did a phenomenal job with that because if you look at their customer count according to earnings, they're up over 34% year over year. Now, that is a very, very consistent growth rate. And when if you take out the government segment, the commercial count is actually up 45%. So Palantir now has locked in a new customer base. They have secured the old customer uh, base, and now they have a amazing opportunity to just go ahead and fine tune their business. Okay, now with the more tuning of the business, that might be where they allocate a little more of their money into, but certainly that investment is going to pay off just like it did when they were seeking out more customers, right? So the more efficient Palantir gets, the larger it gets, the more people know about it, the more reoccurring money they're going to have just cycling in. It's going to be like a washing machine just going round and round and round. Everything they're doing right now is to scale their business. Just understand scaling a business is a slow and steady process, but it does compound exponentially over time. A lot of people say, I want everything now. Palantir needs to go to 50 now. It needs to go back to 35 now. Yeah, I get the instant gratification type world we live in, but us fellow matadors know that investing long term is the way to go. Slow and steady wins the race, y'all. Just keep that in mind. Slow and steady wins the race. Now, in quarter three of 2019, Palantir was generating about 299,000 in revenue per employee. In quarter three 2023, it's at 558,000. So that's a lot of revenue generated per employee and a consistent improvement. A lot of companies, as they grow, tend to onboard a lot more employees than they actually need. So all of a sudden, you've got a lot of employees just walking around like chickens with their heads cut off, not knowing what to do. And all of a sudden, the amount of revenue generated per employee goes boom. So this is definitely one area that Palantir can cut down on moving into 2024 and into quarter one. So hopefully we start to see some of those numbers go down on that side of things. But overall, everyone, I really do think this is not a pump and dump stock. I don't think that this stock has no conviction. I think there's a lot of potential here in Palantir, and I hope some of the numbers helped clear up my explanation as to why I think this stock is a buy long term.
All right, my new subscribers and fellow matadors, thank you for tuning in.
Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment down below. If there's any stocks in particular that you want me to deep dive or cover next, let me know. It looks like I finally created a schedule of what days I'm going to post videos. So right now it's looking like Mondays and Thursdays every week will be my upload days. If I have time or availability to upload any extra videos, or cover any big news that's coming into the stock market, I'll be sure to give that my best effort. I look forward to seeing you on Mondays and Thursdays. Thanks so much again, and remember to control the bull.